Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Pokemon tier list video. I have a lot of fun making these videos, so for today's tier list, I have decided to rank all of these starters in terms of how much I like them. Now, for those of you who may have already noticed, Eevee and Pikachu aren't on this list as they have appeared as starters. I've just decided to keep them off of this list. Now, as always, this tier list and video is 100% my opinion, but I would love to hear what you guys think and what your favorite starters are. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this tier list. Alright, first Pokemon up is Bulbasaur, the first starter in the games. Now, for me, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle for that matter, although they are the first, my love for them has dwindled a little bit. Seeing as there have been 8 new generations after Generation 1, for me, Bulbasaur sits at a B tier, as well as Charmander and Squirtle. Those three are just a good baseline to kind of gauge where the rest of these Pokemon are at. So we'll move on to the next Pokemon, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile, or rather the next region. Chikorita's up next, and I know that this Pokemon doesn't get a lot of love from quite a few people, but I really like Chikorita, and for that reason, Chikorita goes into the A tier. It's just always the starter that I chose in Generation 2, so that's why it sits in the A tier on my list. Cyndaquil is up next, and Cyndaquil for me also sits in the B tier, kind of in that same region as the Generation 1 starters. They were really cool when they first came out. However, I do think some cooler Pokemon have been revealed since then. And that leaves Totodile with Generation 2. And funny enough, even though I said a lot of the starters get better, I actually like I actually like Chikorita and Totodile both more than Cyndaquil, even when the games first came out. Generation 3 is up next, and the first Pokemon in this is Treecko. Now for me, Treecko sits at a C tier. It was just never a Pokemon I enjoyed choosing in Generation 3 until it was given its Mega Evolution and turned into a Grass Dragon type, but that came way down the line and is no longer accessible in the modern Pokemon games, so for me, Treecko does sit in the C tier. Now, this may surprise a lot of you, but Torchic also sits in the same tier. Torchic, for me, also sits in the C tier. It's just a Pokemon that, while its evolution is amazing, I feel like the first form of Torchic here drops the ball a little bit. However, as those of you who may know, Mudkip is one of my favorite starter Pokemon of all time, and is the first starter Pokemon to sit in the S tier. Mudkip and its evolutions are the Pokemon I always choose when I go back to Hoenn, and that is never going to change. I absolutely love the Mudkip line. Mudkip sits in the S tier. Generation 4, arguably my favorite generation, and the games I've probably played the most, in terms of both the original games, Diamond and Pearl, Platinum, and even with the remakes. I've played way too many hours of the Sinnoh region. Funny enough, though, for me, Turtwig sits in the C tier. There's just something about Turtwig that, I don't know, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. I will say Torterra is a really cool evolution, but we're not ranking the final forms. It's just the first forms. Next up is Chimchar, and Chimchar for me sits in the A tier with Chikorita and Totodile. Chimchar is also the Pokemon I would choose when I visited the Sinnoh region, and I didn't ever really vary off of that. I didn't stray too far from Chimchar, so it doesn't really surprise me that Piplup isn't near the A tier, but it does sit in the B tier as well, kind of in that middle ground where it's a cool Pokemon, but I don't like it too much, but I don't dislike it. Up next is Generation 5, Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott. Now, for those of you who've been in this channel for a while, you will all know that I haven't really played Generation 5, so for me, they all sit in the D tier. I don't really like them. Maybe that was the reason I skipped Generation 5. The Gen 5 starters just didn't really appeal to me. But these three Pokemon do sit in the D tier for me. again, I just didn't really have a whole lot of time with Generation 5. Generation 6 is up next, and we're starting off with Chespin. Now, Chespin for me, it's gonna go in the F tier, and really it's no fault of its own. It's really the final evolution's fault. And I know I've said previously with Torchic where I didn't want it to affect it, but Chespin was just another fighting type starter, and we've had quite a few fighting type starters in the past. The fact that they made it a grass type didn't help. So Chespin is the F tier. Fennekin is up next, and for me, again, it's no fault of its own, but Fennekin sits in the C tier. I just don't like that it became a bipedal. That's really the reason I don't like it. And again, I don't want the final evolutions to affect it, but it really is. Fennekin sits in the C tier. Froakie, on the other hand, Froakie sits in the S tier with my boy Mudkip. I really like Froakie. It's a ninja frog. There's just something about that I really like, and a ton of people like. Seeing as Greninja is like the most loved Pokemon ever. Yeah, Froakie for me also sits in the S tier with Mudkip. Rowlet is up next, and for me, Rowlet sits in the A tier. There's just something about Rowlet that I really like. Just the round curvature of it. It's just an owl. I don't know. I don't have words for why I like it. I just do. Rowlet sits in the A tier. However, Litten, on the other hand, goes into the F tier along with Chespin. There's just something about Litten that I don't like. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. I just don't like Litten. I don't have any rhyme or reason. I just don't like it. And the same goes with Popplio. Although Popplio isn't in the F tier, it does go in the D tier. There's just something about it that I don't like. It's a seal. There were more seal Pokemon in the game. I feel like they could have been a little more creative with it. Popplio also sits in the D tier. Now we have Generation 8. Grookey is up next, and for me, Grookey sits in the C tier. There's just, I don't know, there's something about it. I figured there were too many monkey Pokemon in the game already, and they could have maybe designed it a little bit better. I don't know. Grookey just sits in the C tier for me. Scorbunny, on the other hand, goes into the A tier as well. Scorbunny's just been the Pokemon that I've chosen each time I've played through. It's my favorite of the 3 starters. So, in the A tier that it sits. And that leaves us with Sobble. And there's just something about Sobble that I don't like. I didn't like that they portrayed it as just a little crying baby Pokemon. And for that reason, Sobble sits in the F tier. Now, as we all know, Generation 9 is set to release later this year. So, I've also decided to rank these starters. And these ones were actually pretty easy to figure out compared to the other ones. And they all go in the S tier. I love every single one of these starter Pokemon. Sprigatito, just amazing. I can't wait to see what happens to it. My love for it may change if the final evolution isn't as good. Kind of like what happened with Fennekin. Fuecoco, I mean, just look at that thing. I absolutely love the design. And Quaxly, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's the best named Pokemon ever. Quaxly has a really amazing name. I absolutely love it. But yeah, guys, this is my tier list for the starter Pokemon. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of my tier list, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and let me know what your favorite starter Pokemon are in the comments. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one.